Today we'll be beginning with chapter 13 from the text and the syllabus, which is titled Excretion. And we're going to start off by defining what excretion is. So the book says excretion is the removal of toxic materials and the waste products of metabolism from the organism. Now, despite this being the definition given in the book, I don't quite like the way they phrased it because, right, what we get to learn later is basically excretion being the waste products of metabolic activity. Right? Well, not excretion being, but the removal of waste products of metabolic activity is called excretion specifically. So if something is being removed from the body that has not been metabolically involved, then that is not termed excretion. Right? And metabolism is, I believe I mentioned earlier, metabolic activity refers to, right, metabolism, which is the sum of all the reactions or processes in the body. Right? There are two types: either you're building stuff or you're breaking stuff, and so they're termed as uh, anabolic, catabolic, and anabolic. Right? Those terms are not used in the syllabus. Just letting you know. And so individually, catabolic and anabolic, right, together. So catabolic reactions are the ones that, yeah, so catabolic reactions are the ones in which you are breaking down complex molecules. Right? And anabolic is your building stuff into larger molecules. And so those two combined make metabolic reactions. So whatever waste is produced in either of these two, the removal of that waste is called excretion. Now, what they do is that they mention other stuff that may not have been processed in this way, or it's just like, unused, like we talked about egestion and feces, right, during nutrition. And so they say that that's also excretion, where, in proper terms, it's not. So just to clarify. Okay. So what all can be excretory materials? We can have,
Um,
yeah,
Before the excretion, like our body, gets all the energy and saves up the that materials for later use.
that is, I mean, it is sort of in the bigger picture, it is linked, but whatever input you're giving, right? It is being processed, right? And that is the metabolism. And then you're getting waste. That removal is called excretion. So during that process, if you're, saving, if you're storing materials, that's not excretion. Get it?
Yes.
But if there's something like fiber, right, it is not processed
Mm,
and it is removed via egestion. This is not excretion, to be very correct. Right now, the book has, used excretion very loosely. It sort of uses it here, then it says, no, it's metabolic activities, right? There could be toxic materials in the body that are not a result of metabolic activities, right? They might have been in the food, and so they're toxic and then being removed as they are. And so that doesn't count as excretion of that particular material, right? So excretion is for each material. Like for example, we'll talk about carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is produced in the body as a result of reactions, and so that is excretion. We're going to talk about urea, that is excreted, right? So it depends on the material itself that is being removed from the body, right? Certain ions, if they weren't produced due to uh, metabolic activity, then it's just removal of excess or waste. It's technically, scientifically, it's not excretion.
we excrete like through feces, no?
Huh?
We excrete through feces.
Pieces may have some uh, materials that are excreted. Otherwise, it's undigested and unprocessed material. So excretion is either through the lungs for carbon dioxide gas or through the urine, right, for urea and other stuff.
Mm.
So that's what I was about to mention, that excretory materials, they include waste products of chemical reaction, and then you have, right now, this is where you like, this isn't excretion, but okay, the book's saying that, right? Excess water and ions taken in with diet. And so the excess is removed without being used, and so technically that's not excretion. And then you've got hormones, right? So excretion also includes the removal of drugs, that medicines that you've taken, foreign substances, right? Maybe there was some dust or pebbles or something. It happens, right? Maybe with grains and you like chewed it up, or eggshell or something, right? You chewed it up and you took it in and it was removed from the body. So again, right, the way they are defining excretion is rather, I mean, okay, but again, properly speaking, many of the things that they're mentioning do not qualify as excretion. Okay. So again, right, chemical reaction in the body can produce substances. Uh, so chemical reactions, when talking about inside the body, obviously, not chemistry. I mean, it is chemistry, but let's not go there. So chemical reactions in the body, right, they end up producing toxic or poisonous waste. and that needs to be removed, right? Which also includes CO2, right? CO2 in the blood is toxic. You don't want it there, and so it's removed when you exhale, for example, right? Uh, and it's coming from the breakdown of glucose. So the glucose, we've studied this. We know the equation. Glucose is broken down in aerobic respiration, and you get carbon dioxide, right? Then you got urea, right, which is from produced from excess amino acids. Why is it produced from excess amino acids? Because the body cannot store excess amino acids, right? It can store excess carbohydrates, it can store excess fats. So what does it do with the excess amino acids? What it does is it takes, like, so the amino acid, right, it has the amino part, right, and it's actually carbon over here, right? It has the acid part and the R group. So what happens is in the liver, the amino part is removed, right? So the amide part or group is removed, and this is called deamination or deamination, I think. Then that's converted to ammonia, and ammonia is very toxic. And then that is converted to urea, which is comparatively less toxic. And then that is removed or excreted via urine. Okay. Right. And this basically sums up uh, all of excretion, basically. So after this, we'll take a look at, the kidney, because, right, we know that the lungs are involved in the removal of CO2. We've talked about the liver just now. And right, next up is the kidney, where urine is formed and excreted, removed from the body. Now, it turns out that the student had had to leave class because of connectivity issues, and so we'll have to stop class here, unfortunately, and we'll continue from this point forward, the next class inshallah.